Right, hello again, Fleet Commanders. Tiberius here with another video stream for you today. We are streaming live on Twitch, so if you happen to be catching this live, thank you very much. Be sure to follow the channel there. If you're catching this on YouTube, don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel and like the video if you happen to enjoy it. Always appreciate support, always appreciate your comments. Try to answer them as much as I can. If you do leave any feedback on the YouTube export. So today's topic we are going to be talking about, hang on, I just got to move a miner real quick. We're going to be talking about reputation, faction reputation, reputation grinding. We'll start off with some basics related to it for any newer players out there, and then we'll get into a little bit more of the higher game content in a little bit. So um, real basic stuff. Obviously, you have your three factions: Federation, Klingon, Romulan. Those are the ones we're going to focus on. Augment and Rogue are additional, but they don't really give you a whole lot of benefits in terms of your overall gameplay. They're not real big, power players in the quadrant. These are your three big power players. Um, Augments get you some nice bonuses and things like that. Same thing with Rogues with the Outlaw research, a lot of research for doing the Stella and stuff. But in terms of, getting you specific things, um, not not too much comes from there. Obviously, you get a few officers and things, but not really a lot of ships or anything like that. These hijack ships aren't really all that great, and they kind of cap out in the mid 20s when it's easier to just push past and get better ships afterwards. So, Federation, Klingon, Romulan. Obviously, a variety of reps, and if you are newer to the game and you're thinking to yourself, okay, which one do I pick? Right around, I think it's op level 18, somewhere between 18 and 20. That's when you start kind of getting into the faction space and the faction items and things like that. Let's pull up the map here. So, right around ops 18 or so, I think it's when you first start venturing in. The first systems right here are 21, 20, so that would probably make sense right around there. You'd get the missions to start doing stuff like that. And people always wonder, which reputation should I pick? Which one, do I like the better? Which one has the better stuff? And the answer is they really have good stuff, and you're going to do them all at some point eventually. Every time you gain rep in one faction, couldn't think of the word I wanted to use there. Every time you gain rep in one faction, you gain a lot of rep in one, a little bit of rep in the second, and you lose rep in the third from killing stuff. From doing missions and dailies, you gain rep in the primary one and you lose half the amount in the other two. So if you go to, we'll take a look at just the daily thing for a second here. A lot of events going on today in the current story arc. So if you go to like your reputation, Klingon reputation event here. I haven't done this one yet today. So for hitting each milestone, I would gain this amount of Klingon rep, but I lose half the amount of Federation and Romulan points. If I'm trying to gain Federation and Romulan rep, I don't want to necessarily complete this one because it's going to set me back, which is what my current goal is to get Federation and Romulan rep up, and then I'll circle back later and work on my Klingon reputation. Now, there are certain things to understand with faction reputation levels. So everybody starts out, you're basically even with all three of them. You haven't chosen a path yet. You can go either way. And I highly recommend you work on two of them simultaneously in the early goings. Pick two. Doesn't really necessarily matter. Whatever it is, do the daily missions for both. They'll kind of offset the reputation gain from them, but you'll get the benefits of it. You'll get the recruit tokens. You'll get the recruit credits, the faction credits here, which you can then use to buy additional credits or additional recruit tokens here. You can also use them to buy ship blueprints, and now they've also added the cloaking shards for them as well. So good things to come from the store. Blueprints and things like that. Most importantly, it's the officers. The ability to gain officer shards and to improve your officers at an early level. If you want my official recommendation throughout the game, moving up, it's easy to get any of them. Focus on one of them, get one of them up. Once you hit 10 million reputation points, your reputation that becomes your new basement, your new floor. Your points cannot go lower than 10 million. No matter how many Klingons you kill, you'll never lose any more rep after that, or any of the other ones. The lowest you can ever go into the negative is negative 2 million. So when you're first starting out as a lower level player, and you're picking one, say you want to work on Federation, because that obviously that's where the game's sort of catered towards. All the content is sort of based around the Federation, because Star Trek is sort of based around the Federation. You know, always thought it would have been cool if they did a Star Trek show based on the Klingons specifically, or based on the Borg or whatever like that. But they never went around to doing that. They kind of, made them secondary characters and still focus on all your Federation stuff. So say you want to work on your Klingon reputation, and you kill Federation and Romulans. Well, don't kill both. Pick one. Because like I said, when you kill hostiles of a specific faction, you gain reputation with one. You kill Klingons, you gain Federation rep a lot. You gain some Romulan rep, and you lose Klingon rep for killing Klingons. Depending on what you kill, and we'll get into that a little more later when we get into things like that, obviously the rep changes are greater. Traders always give more rep than regular ships, though. As you can see here, killing this level 20 trader gives you 10 Federation rep, 4 Romulan rep. If we find a level 20, there we go, level 20 battleship, it's 5 and 2. So traders obviously give more rep. If you're trying to improve your rep, you'd want to kill them. If you're trying to do something like Faction Hunt, the event that they give you at the end of every story arc, usually there's some type of Faction Hunt event that they throw in for a little bit. So what you would want to do there is, I recommend doing all three. Get the credits for doing all three. Even though it's going to hurt your rep a little bit, if you're trying to use Klingon reputation and you don't want to kill Klingons, kill the regular ships. You'll lose less rep. When you're fighting the other groups, kill their miners, so that way you gain the rep back that you lost. You'll still come out ahead, and you'll get the benefits for doing all the kills. Usually it's faction credits and it's ultra recruit tokens, which are big things that you want. We'll go back into the faction store real quick. So I mentioned that the lowest you can ever go is negative 2 million, and you are going to get to that with one of your factions early. So if you want to kill Klingons and get Federation and Romulan rep, your Klingon rep is going to go all the way to the basement, negative 2 million. When you are a low-level player, do not do any Klingon missions. Pick them up, put them in your archive. Go to your missions. Go to your missions. And go to your archives. I'm not working on Klingon rep. Here's a whole bunch of Klingon missions that are just sitting in there. At some point in time in the future, after I've capped out the other ones, you circle back and you use those missions to get you out of the hole. I mentioned that 10 million was the cap. That is kind of the goal to get to. You get each of these three to 10 million. You'll do that throughout your 20s into your 30s, and in your low to mid 30s, right around the time you're getting your epic ships at around ops level 34, when you're getting your first big epic, your Enterprise, your D4, or your Augur. You should have all three of these already capped at 10 million at respected. We do have a handy little chart. We'll slide this over real quick. So the different reputation levels, obviously, like I said, negative 2 million is the lowest that you can go. Uh, when you are neutral or untrustworthy and things like that, you'll have less. You won't have dailies and stuff available to you, so you'll just have to kill stuff to get out of this. Once you get to like tolerated, that's when you start getting some basic goals, some basic daily events that you can do, and that will help accelerate your reputation grind. Um, and then once you kind of work your way through, killing stuff, doing your dailies, you'll hit this 10 million mark here. I don't care. Thank you. You'll hit your 10 million mark here at respected, and that will lock. So it can never go below 10 million again. So you can grind as much as you want, and it will always stay above at that 10 million point. However, once you get into the higher level of the game, and you're getting pushing into the high 30s and into the 40s, you're going to want to kind of start again grinding one or two of them up. I recommend doing two. It does take longer, but it takes longer to do the first one, but it leaves the second one in a better position. And I feel like it gets you to the point faster where you're getting the bigger rewards. Um, at least for this, especially for the second one. Um, but the second cap out here is at 1 billion, which is pretty insane to think about trying to get to. That's champion. That's where you get capped at is 1 billion. So once you're at 10 million, you can never go back below this. But if you go up to 30 or 50 and then you like, let me kill some of the other ones for stuff, you can actually go back and and your rep will drop all the way back down, and you'll go all the way back down to 10 million here. It's kind of like Chutes and Ladders kind of thing. So if you start, once you really start focusing on climbing, you're pushing to 1 billion to get that extra lock. It takes a really long time. I'll just tell you that now. It's a lot of stuff to kill. It's a lot of dailies to do. On a everyday basis, you're hitting all of them. You're getting a couple million points for that, and you're doing a lot of hostile grinding, and it is a grind. So, but people always ask, which one should I, when should I start doing that push? Like I said, you want to get to about, somewhere in your low 30s is where you want to have all three of them locked at the 10 million point. Then you want to spend that time for a couple of ops levels, probably like 34 through 36, 37. Just do all three of them every day. Just do the mining for all three of them. Do the daily events, killing everything for all three of them, and just stock up on these recruit tokens and these faction credits, because you're going to use those to just do officer pulls. Do officer pulls, get your base officers from your recruit packs. We'll look at those real quick. Recruits, Klingon recruits, get all these guys. Get them all maxed out. Start getting transporter patterns from Gorkon, Chang, Kurla as, get your Kirk, your Spock. Especially in the beginning games, these guys are huge for lower level players. Same thing with the Romulans, with Nero and Vemet and Kumak. These guys are pretty strong. Livis is decent too. Again, you want to just get these guys, so you can start getting the transporter patterns. Transporter patterns are acquired once you've maxed out the number of shards required for every officer, and then you start getting transporter patterns for every new shard you would get. They come up here, and then you can cash them in. Most people cost 1,000. Some of the newer officers cost 1,100 per pattern. So, but that's when you get your faction credits. You max out these officers. You start converting extra ones into transporter patterns, and you use your transporter patterns to boost your Kang, your Charvanek, your Marcus. To get these officers up and going, because these are your biggest PvP officers that you're going to need as you move into your higher levels. So you're kind of one hand feeding the other one on that one. But enjoy that time. Stock up on that kind of stuff. Do all the dailies in the 30s, mid 30s, because the thing that you don't want to start putting, save up, stock up on those repair tokens as well. You know, repair speed ups. You get 30-minute repair speed ups from doing your dailies. I got 15,000, and my ships cost like 10 hours. Not every time I want to repair one in full, every time it dies. So I'm using these like popping them like they're vitamins or whatever, Pez, just candy, M&Ms. There you go, popping them like they're M&Ms. So stock up on those. Get thousands of those things because you're going to need them as your ships uh, move into higher levels. And the tricky thing is, and the reason why I tell you to use that time and not really start pushing yourself until you get to about 37, 38. At 38 is when you unlock deep space. Those are all these systems up here. You do a mission chain, and then you can get to all these systems up here that are dark space. That's what they call them. They're shadowed. You can't look at them unless you've got a ship or your base in there. Um, but this is where you get all of your 4-star resources. This is also where you kill things that are above level 41 for the most part. Um, so, looking at our daily chart, so hopefully you guys can see that okay. See what I can do to make it a little bigger. So, respected at 10 million. At 10 million, you're killing 10 things level 38, 25 things level 39 every day to do your daily. Just do this really. Just kill 30, 25 39s and you'll save yourself the trouble. Um, but as you start to improve that rep and you get to 30 million, now you're killing 40 and 41s. And when you get to 50 million, now you have to kill 42s. For 41s, if we go back in game, you can. We'll go to the Klingon system because it's easiest to find. Like 41s, if you go to the level 40 system surrounding the hub, in this case it's Ursva for Klingons, you can find some level 41s here to kill. 39s, 40s, and 41s. Not a lot of 41s spawn here. It's a level 40 system, so the bulk of what you're getting are 39s and 40s, but there are a handful of 41s here. As you progress, and now you have to kill 42s, there are no 42s in regular space. Now, there is, with certain factions, you can take advantage of, the Tiger Core bug, as many people have mentioned, where sometimes they count for extras, as does Ursva for some reason. Um, but after that, the only things available to you in factions in regular space are in the capital systems and these capital traders, which are level 49s. Definitely don't want to kill the heavies, and it's pretty hard to find some of the regular ones. These guys don't do. They have a lot of health. They don't do a lot of damage. They don't do as much damage. They do a lot of damage, but it's a single shot kind of thing. You can kill them with Beverly, Mud, and either Chen or Talon. Chen on the regulars, Talon on the heavies if you are pretty low. If you're a little higher level and you have like a max Chen, Pike Moreau Chen works just fine for killing the regular transports. Obviously, you see you get a lot more rep for killing things that are a lot higher. Almost 10,000 Federation, 5,000 Romulan, losing 36,000 Klingon per kill. So, but these are hard to find. These don't spawn very often. People usually come in and hunt them out. So if you accelerate your reputation gain too quickly and it doesn't match up with your ops level, you're going to run into a point where you can't do your dailies anymore. And then your choices are either to kill things of your own faction to get your rep back down a tier, so you can do, if you hit admired and you're suddenly realizing, oh no, there's no 42s that I can find, well, now I got to go out and kill some things to lower my rep back down to get it back down to celebrated, so then I can start killing these 41s again. That's also the same point as we move this one over here with your mining dailies. This one's a little harder to see, but it's the same point here. At celebrated 30 million, your mining daily goes from mining 3-star resources up to grade 4-star resources. And unless you have access to a territory, unless your alliance owns a territory down here that happens to have, you know, one of the hub systems, there's only 6 of them. So you've got 2 ore systems, 2 gas systems, and 2 crystal systems. If you don't own one of them, you're not going to have access to those 4-star materials you need every day until you hit Ops level 38 and you complete the deep space missions, and then you need a ship with warp 56 to get out to this first little hub here to start picking up these mines. These are also the systems that have the split nodes that alternate. So if you need gas because you're doing Federation dailies, this is the only system you can come to, and it's very possible that most of the nodes in the system may be ore nodes, and then you're stuck mining through all the ore, hoping that they flip. And these nodes have 100,000 resources in them. So if they're all, just recently flipped because everybody took all the gas and they flipped to ore nodes, now you got to mine through 100,000 ore just to get it to flip back to, hoping it flips back to gas because it doesn't always happen that way. But hoping it flips back to gas so that you can then complete your daily. Not always plausible to do. You'd have to end up going out to one of the Federation spaces, which is just gas, but these guys require warp 65 to reach, and that's a little harder to do with miners. Now you're taking a miner, or you're taking a Meridian, maybe you've upgraded, or you're taking a regular faction miner, and now you're throwing Scotty and Grush on it, which is really going to slow down your mining rate. Um, so yeah, and again, you can't get to these until you're at least the Ops 38 anyway. So that's why I say from the like 34 to 37, if you haven't locked by 34, finish that up, get the 3 of them locked. Enjoy the time from 34 through 38. Make sure you've maxed out all those officers. Focus on all that stuff, taking the credits, getting the officers, enjoy getting the transporter patterns, use all those transporter patterns to dump them into guys like Marcus and Charvanik and Kang and really get them up as quickly as you can. And then once you hit 38, once you're like 37 and you're starting to make your move toward 38, that's when you can start moving up. So that way, um, you've already got that going. So you're starting to make the move from respected up to celebrated or admired uh, most of the way through celebrated by the time you hit 38 and unlock deep space. So as soon as you hit admired here at 50, you're ready to go into deep space, start killing the 42s, get that unlocked, start doing your 4-star resource mining every day, and then you can start making your push. Again, not bad idea to do it 2 ways. Does get a little time consuming trying to boost 2 at once. But again, once you get the first one locked, the second one is already pretty far along in the process. And the best way to accomplish that is just to focus on whatever the third one was. So as we saw earlier when we looked at my rep, um, I started with Romulan. I boosted that up quite a bit. And now my Federation is playing catch up here a little bit because I'm only focusing on killing Klingons now. So I'm killing Klingons. I'm getting some Romulan rep. This is up to 538 million now. And now my Federation rep is growing up to 280 million now. I'm gaining more Federation rep from killing those Klingons than I am Romulan rep. Um, so these guys are both going to kind of get there near the same time. I've got the Roms have a good head start, but the Feds are going to catch up here. And then once these are both hit a billion and get locked, then I'll go back and then I'll do all the Klingon stuff and just focus on strictly solely boosting Klingon rep to get that third lock. As you progress through the store, you get different blueprints available up through 50. There is more past champion, but once you kind of got to get here first to get your ops level up high enough. There are some ranks after that. There is a third, super whale tier where it locks out at 15 billion. Um, Again, you're going to do the same process. You're going to get yourself, that's all the 5-star resources and materials and those big, 100 million ships you've probably seen on some of the other guys, feeds and channels. I got killed by one earlier. We'll show you. Yeah, Oh, that's just the North Cut. That's not the big one. Where's the Crozier? There's the Crozier. There's the Crozier that killed me. 139 million strength ship. This was during a territory battle. I was, just flying around, parked on a node, and this guy just came rolling on in just because, he likes to mess with us. So, still blame Scopely for having the PvP ranges this wide. Um, that's the other thing, obviously, you got to keep an eye on when you're pushing your ops level up and stuff like that. Is what range or am I getting myself into by pushing to that next ops level, and am I ready for it? Um, there's nothing, this is just a whale territory. There's nothing you can do about that. Um, but yeah, I mean, this is just awesome. 140 million ship. Um, but yeah, that's what happens when you get over Ops 50s. You get a third lock and a third faction section. People often ask me, when you're at that 10 million point, you've got all three locked. Which one should I go for next? Who's got the best ship? Who's got the thing that I want to go? Um, it's really sort of up to you and kind of how your server sort of plays. Um, we know from watching other YouTube videos and just from looking at like the firing patterns, everybody's in love with the Pilum. Um, we're going to pull this up and we're going to show you just what I mean. Everybody's in love with the Pilum, so a lot of people go Romulan just to get to that. And it's because of the firing pattern on it, which is where? There it is. It's this round one firing pattern. 7 shots in round one. Um, so pretty insane as compared to uh, rare G4. Looking at the Coronar does not have the same firing pattern. It only has 5 shots in the first round. It has more in the second round. It's a little more consistent. Uh, Round 4, it gets 7 shots. But and then the Newton being the battleship here for the Federation, firing pattern on this one has 6 shots in the first round. Then you get 3 here, and then it's basically 6 and 3, 6 and 3 is what it's doing. So I mean, they're all good ships. They all have their benefits and whatnot, but most people seem to be in love with the Pilum here for this 7-3, 7-3, 7-3 firing pattern. Um, Especially, in a PvP situation, if you put a guy like Harrison, which we've seen people do videos on, and for those of you who don't have Harrison, who's really only available if you buy him, he's one of these officers that's incredibly hard to source. But an officer like Harrison here has the ability to sabotage first round of combat. He ignores 60% of the opponent's shield. So you're firing 7 times, you're ignoring most of their shield, and that's just straight hull damage that's going through. He also pairs up, he's in the same Section 31 officer grouping with Yuki, with Marcus, with Zhao, but Zhao's not really as important for this. Where did he go? There he is. So, Yuki, Marcus, Harrison, Yuki stripping the shields, Marcus, Harrison bypassing the shields round 1, putting a bunch of damage on the hull. Yuki possibly, stripping extra shield health. If not really, it's kind of overkill at that point. But Marcus doing shield penetration then to get you through the shields and get more damage on the hull for the subsequent rounds. These two work really well together. Um, so yeah, I've also seen people using either Pike or Picard to boost Harrison's ability to get through that first round and just unload on people. So people will say that Romulan is one of the best to get to as you're moving into that second tier and that second wave. And it's kind of hard to argue with that. That's what they've got. The Valdor is a strong ship. And So is the Pilgrim's probably the best 46 ship. But if I'm working on my second one, if I had to do it over again, I would do Klingon over Federation. Not necessarily because of the ships. I mean, the Coroner is good. The Katinga is pretty good as a battleship here. Um, but just, it's more about the resource cost. When you're looking at your ops and your base in the 40s, all of these buildings, the research center and these buildings here, they all require a ridiculous amount of gas to upgrade. 5,000. These are 3,000, I think, for that one. It won't let me do because I did that one already. Yeah, 2,000 for that one. And the research center itself, these all take a bunch of gas. That's going to stop you from upgrading your explorers. Um, you know, these take a bunch of crystal. That's going to stop you from really speeding up your interceptors. The battleship takes ore. Not as many your op center takes ore, but not as many of the other support buildings take ore. The warehouses and stuff do, and I think the refinery does. So ore is a little more abundant, which would go into battleships, giving the nod to the Klingons. The other big thing really comes down to the fundamental way in which the game has changed in the last year or two since it was released. Every time, when the game first started and you just had these officers from these different pools, it was pretty well balanced. But as they've gotten new content, it is very Federation heavy. You are going to be spending your Federation credits upgrading officers. You know, you look at, these were kind of where the base officers were kind of through these different things, and it was slightly Federation heavy. There were two Klingon groups, two Romulan groups, two main Federation groups, and then you had Pike and Moreau and their sort of group. Most of the newer guys, these guys you have to buy. They come out every couple months in like a $20 pack. Haven't really bought them yet. And then you had like your miners and stuff like that, and some of these other like support guys, which also happen to be a couple more Federation people. So slightly in Federation's favor. Then you had your augments get added. Then you had your eclipsed guys get added. Then you have your cadets and stuff like that who are also Federation. There's some extra Klingon officers in here. Then you've got your Borg guys. But then we got to all the new content with first Discovery, then the original series, then Next Generation, which had two different sets of officers, and now we're into this duality arc, which finally backfills a little bit of Klingon and a couple of Romulans as well. But these are 5, 10, 20, 30 new all Federation officers, and most of them are rare or higher. Particularly the Next Generation crew was a bunch of epics, 5 epic officers. Epic officers take a large amount of credits to upgrade, as we'll see here in our handy STFC database. Thank you so much for this. Jean-Luc Picard. To promote different shards that you need, different faction credits. To get you the final tier, 25,000, 11,000. That's 36, 37, 41, 42, 42,250. If I'm doing that in my head right. So just over 42,000 off faction credits to max out in each officer. Now you've got 5 just in the Next Generation. That's 200,000 right there. You had a couple in the original series, Kirk and Spock. These 5 here, you go back to Giorgio and Burnham and Lorca. Pretty sure Lorca requires... I don't think they made Lorca independent. They did make Lorca independent. Okay, good. But still Giorgio and Burnham there. So a lot of Federation officers. And if you look at some of the rares as well. Worf. The rare officers, 12. This is 5, 6, 18,000 per rare officer. So again, as we talked about, a whole lot of rares. No, that's not what I want. I want groups. So you've got a whole 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rare officers. You know, a couple epics, and then you've got 4 rare officers and 5 epic officers. Now these officers aren't the greatest, and you're going to prioritize them, but they are going to suck up a lot of Federation credits. So my advice, long story short, save Federation for last. Focus on your Klingon and your Romulan reps. They have good, strong ships. They interact well with each other. You know, Romulans have they both have cloaking, which is of great advantage to the early 30s and into the 40s, especially for PvP and things like that. Let me move this miner before I get killed for being on a 0 node there. But that would be my recommendation. You look at the things in the stores that you get. Obviously you've got the different cloaking shards. You've got obviously the officers and things like that. But they've got good ships. The Klingons. You've got a battleship and then an explorer right there. Then you've got an explorer and an interceptor. So you kind of cover all 3 of them in the mid 40s. Valdor's a strong ship. Pilum's a great ship. Explorer versus interceptor. We know the combat triangle favors that. But then the Klingons also with the battleship that has the favorite against the Valdor. So, you kind of get into that rock, paper, scissors game. But it does allow you to save your faction credits for upgrading your Federation officers. Because like I said, they are going to suck up a lot of it. I'm too far committed. I'm pot committed now. I'm just going to keep going with it. But if I were in my 30s and I had it to do over again, I would take this in a different direction, and I would go with Klingon and Romulan first, and then circle back for Federation last. So that'd be my recommendation to you guys. Obviously, the things to work on. The thing I didn't really talk about. The thing that's going to let you do your faction grinding the best. Obviously, we have to talk about, we talked about the miners and killing them to get the highest benefits. Obviously, when you are doing stuff here, you look at the guys, which different reps you get. These are the base numbers. These does not take into account any adjustments, any modifications that you have done. And when you're grinding rep, it's always important to know what research have you done, what what ship are you using to kill them, and where are you killing? What are you killing? Obviously, the miners, like I said, have more. I don't want to go there. I want to go into the research. The miners, like I said, have more. But you've got a couple different places in your research tree that's going to give you additional benefits. In the Galaxy tab, you have your Federation Apprentice, Romulan Apprentice, Klingon Apprentice. You gain points or lose points for defeating each hostile, so that's going to affect that as well. It is also down here at the end, there's a second one, which is you gain additional points for you gain more Federation points for using a Federation ship to kill the thing. So if you're trying to gain X rep, if you pair it up with the right ship, I'm trying to gain Romulan rep and I'm going out and killing things. If I use a Romulan ship, well, now I can get myself an extra 40% bonus to that. So there's 2 in the Galaxy tree. You also, in your away teams missions, there's also another one further down here. You've got this notoriety that also increases the reputation gain as well. So if you do your research, you can greatly increase the numbers. That will lower how many things you have to kill to help you get there faster. And then it also depends on, again, which ship you're using. So try and pair it up with the right ship if you're trying to gain, Klingon reputation. Focus on upgrading a Klingon ship. Get that up. Use that to do your farming. If I'm trying to gain Federation rep now, I'm going to take my Enterprise and I'm going to go out there and I'm going to kill some stuff. I'm trying to gain Romulan rep, I'm going to use my Augur and I'm going to go out there and do it. So I'm giving myself an extra bonus. And that's the ship that I want to be focusing on. And if you plan that out in your 30s, that's the ship you're going to spend your resources upgrading. You know, don't dump all your points into an Enterprise and then expect to be able to go to use that to faction grind. To try and boost your Klingon and Romulan reps. It'll work. You're just going to have to kill more things. So, work smarter, not harder. It's kind of how the old saying goes. Thank you guys very much for watching all this. Do your research, plan ahead, use your credits. Hopefully you like the video. You follow along on Twitch or on YouTube. Leave your comments below. Do my best to answer them. See you around the galaxy, guys. Thanks for watching.